Now, you probably looked at the title, clicked on this video, and thought to yourself, there's no f***ing way this guy, this random guy who I've never heard of, can explain to me how to be really good at this game in less than 10 minutes. But wait, there's more. Let me teach you. Hello, you beautiful people out there. What's going on? This is your friend Birdie coming fast with another Legends of Runeterra video. And today we are going to be talking about how to beat everyone, how to beat every region, no matter what you're doing. And this isn't so much as what to pick and what to use to beat what and what, because that would be an hour-plus long video. It's more of a frame of mind and a way to actually apply these teachings to any situation. So instead of catching the fish for you, I'm going to teach you how to fish today with this video. So if you do find it to be informative, funny, or anything in between, please consider dropping a like and maybe sharing it as well. For example, if you share it on Reddit, who knows, it might go viral and I can become famous overnight. Please. The reason I have my ranked pulled up here is just to give you guys a frame of reference. Today is January 26th, which is the third day of launch of Legends of Runeterra. I played this game non-stop. I literally did a 24-hour stream the other day, and I got to gold 4 so far in ranked mode. So this is just to give a little bit of credibility to the knowledge that I have, so I'm not just some random guy anymore. You guys would like to see all of this in action, you guys can check out my stream down in the description below. Let's get into this video. In card games, predicting our enemy is key, and we want to know their decks front and back. We want to know the strengths and weaknesses of every region, and we want to understand the champions and their inherent synergies with the other cards that come in their package. If they don't have champions in their decks, then it's probably revolving around spells and skills of followers to win, such as stuff like in a control deck, like Atrocity mixed with Commander Ledros, stuff like that. And you always want to consider the enemy's hand and mana count when you're making decisions, and that's just going to come with practice as playing the game. But let's get into the nitty-gritty of every region. So first off, we have Demacia. Get the stiffy up and keep it. The strengths here include the fact that there's a lot of strong units in this deck, in this region, such as Cithria the Bold, Vanguard Cavalry, Radiant Guardian. These are really strong units that are good for mid-range games. Mid-range means that you play to around round 6, 7, 8, and that's where you really start to pop off. You start making good trades, and your units stay alive when their units do not, when they strike each other. This is very good, and they capitalize on these trades by using buffs and spells that give them either barrier like Riposte, or give them just straight up power and health like back to back. In order to counter most of the Demacia decks and the Demacia region in general, you want to overwhelm them in large numbers by going wide across the board, as you guys are seeing in this gameplay. If they have a couple units that are very big and have a lot of health, the best way to do that is just to outnumber them so they can't block all of your units and you still manage to damage the Nexus. They also don't have any good way of countering removal, such as Vengeance, which is a card that is found in the Shadow Isles region, which we will talk about soon. So look for openings there. Like I said, you want to keep track of the mana when you're dealing with this kind of stuff, and so you want to memorize the mana of some important cards, such as Detain, such as Single Combat, Riposte, Purify, and even Prismatic Barrier. These are going to be useful things to know when you are involved in combat. Next up, we have Shadow Isles, who's kind of like that person that you made fun of in middle school, who's now super successful and can pick on you and make fun of you. Shadow Isles decks can summon a lot of units at once. They can have units that are really hard to kill, and then when you do kill them, they come back even stronger, like Cursed Keeper, and they have a ton of removal tools in their deck, spells that kill your guys, such as Black Spear, Grasp of the Undying, Withering Wail, The Box, Vengeance, the list goes on and on. But one thing to remember about Shadow Isles is that the magic number is 3, and we're not talking about things that you can do in the bedroom. Black Spear, The Box, and Grasp of the Undying are 3 examples of spells that deal 3 damage to your units. And so that is what I mean by the rule of 3. Always try and make smart exchanges and interactions when you're dealing with the Shadow Isles decks, just in case there's a possibility that they can use those spells. And of course, always pay attention to the enemy's mana to see if they can pull off those spells during the same round. For example, with Black Spear, if they only have 1 mana in their mana gem slot, for example, and that's it, you can safely kill one of their units without worrying about your important champion, such as Elise, getting picked off in response. When countering these decks, I suggest using decks that contain a lot of large units, because just like large units can be countered by a lot of small units, the same can be applied in vice versa, especially if those large units have overwhelm, which will deal the damage difference between your power and their health straight to their nexus. Also, using elusive units to just go straight through their what seem to be infinite like walls can be pretty insane, and especially if you're running something like Ionia, where you can protect yourself from removal spells by using Deny. Also keep track of giant bombs such as Rasa the Sunderer and Commander Ledros, 7 mana and 8 mana respectively, because these cards are in a lot of Shadow Isle decks. Noxus users are typically more aggressive than a bull that's been kicked in the nuts, and they have the best raw power in the game. And again, I'm not talking about that kind of raw, referring to nuts. Okay. They're strong units at every mana cost, and they're very, very aggressive. They have 1-point cards that are strong. They have 2-point mana unit cards that are very strong, and then they just move into the mid game and the late game very, very well. Some of these cards include stuff like Shiraz the Blade, which is a 4-mana unit. You have Trifarian Shieldbreaker, Savage Reckoner, stuff like this that can really give you a run for your money at these rounds when they become available. However, because they're so aggressive, they don't play defense too well, and they also don't have too many removal spells. Most of their spells are only really useful during combat and only typically help their power stat, not their health stat. Stuff like Brother's Bond, stuff like Might, and Whirling Death. A bull kicked in the nuts is going to be very aggressive, so of course you want to try and slow the game down in order to counter these very aggressive decks. They want to go fast and you do not. You want to slow it down by using spells during the combat to heal yourself up and give yourself a better chance of staying alive when they do not. And also using control cards such as Frostbite cards can help you stay alive longer and just outmaneuver these very, very quick fast light decks. Ionia. Tricky and elusive just like my ex-girlfriend. They're really good at hand buffing in the game, has Deny, and it can be very, very aggressive with cards like Zed and other elusive units like Shadow Assassin, like Green Glade Duo. Elusive units especially can be very obnoxious to deal with, but you can take them out with removal spells. You can also use cards like Purify to remove the elusive keyword from them. You can use Detain to capture them, or Single Combat to force fights, and you generally just want to force them in awkward positions because it does take a little bit of skill to really utilize Ionia to its full advantage, and some people just fumble trying to set that up, so take advantage of that, take advantage of their inadequacy, and rush them before they have a chance to recover the fumble and score the touchdown. If you run into a Yasuo deck, it's going to be very heavily focused around stunning and recalling, so definitely just focus on taking out their Yasuo and their whole deck crumbles after that, but also watch out for giant bombs like Yon, Windchaser, and the Swiftfoot. Piltover and Zaun is also tricky, but this time like my other ex-girlfriend. They're best at burning and targeting in the enemy nexus with spells, stuff like Mystic Shot, True Shot Barrage, and Get Excited. They also have Teemo decks that utilize mushroom cards to burn you over time, so they're really good at that as well. But because of that, they end up being kind of slow if they just try to burn you. If they are the first kind of deck that I mentioned, where they just try and burn down your nexus with spells, then it might be wise for you to try and be aggressive with them so they can't set up their crazy spell combos, especially when they use cards to refill their spell mana. There are also some other weird things that you can do with Piltover and Zaun, for example, the deck's Revolving Jinx, where you can discard your cards such as Rummage, Augmented Experimenter, and units that benefit from those discarded cards like Flame Chompers to win the game in that way. But these kind of decks have a hard time controlling their own hand, and they typically don't have many cards in their hand because they focus so much on removing them all. So play off of that information, knowing that they can't react to your actions because they have literally nothing in their hand, and pick up the pace before the burn decks burn you all the way to the ground. Freljord is just a giant buzzkill, honestly. Just when you think you have them where you want them, they pull out Frostbite cards like Brittle Steel, Harsh Winds, and Shatter to totally cuck you. This region also possesses a lot of spell cards that will help buff up the health stat in comparison to Noxus that only buffs up the power stat typically. You have cards such as Bloodsworn Pledge and Take Heart that are really good at doing this. Not to mention, Freljord also contains units that get stronger when they become damaged, such as Scarmother Vrina, and also units that completely flip into giant powerhouses when they die, like Tryndamere. Don't forget to watch out for giant bombs like Winter's Breath. When paired with Ash, this can really screw you over, and they can even kill you in one turn if they set everything up properly. Removal spells are a good counter for them, or also using protection from cards that give you barrier are good because combat doesn't matter in that sense. And also you want to press the advantage while you are ahead in order for you to avoid the inevitable death that will come with Frostbite Control or one turn kill Ash, or even a Tryndamere that at round 8 will just run you over with his Overwhelm. So playing fast against Freljord is typically a good idea. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Knowing the weaknesses and strengths of your opponent will go a long way, and hopefully me making this video and highlighting some of these strategies and powerful cards will help you make better decisions in the future when you are versing such regions. I understand that there are going to be more regions that come out and cards will be changed, nerfed, buffed, etc. as this game lives longer, but you can apply these same methods to every single patch. Just adapt, pay attention to their hand state, pay attention to their mana, and make sure you don't make rookie mistakes when you lack the eyesight and vision to see the patterns that come from each one of these regions. I really hope this has helped. If this has, please drop a like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And as always, make sure you'll have a wonderful day. Peace. I can't believe this guy hasn't surrendered yet. It's actually nuts. Bro, 1534. I can't believe it. I can't believe that's a thing. Fuck it.